Everybody always talks about how to find products to sell on Amazon. I do myself, but the part two to that is how do you actually send stuff into Amazon? Because if you don't do that part, you can't actually make any money from the products that you buy. So, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can send your products into Amazon the easiest way possible. In order to start a shipment, you're going to need to come to your Inventory Lab account, and you're usually going to get pulled to the dashboard right away when you log in. So just come over to list and then click on list and prep here. It'll open up this page that looks exactly like this. You're just going to hit this big button in the middle that says start a batch. And when you do that, it's going to pull up with your information here. It's going to have the batch name, which you can change to whatever you want to. If you want it different than what it is, I just leave it as is. It's going to say if it's fulfilled by Amazon or if you're going to do merchant fulfilled here. So if you want to throw all your merchant fulfilled stuff in here also so your buy costs are accurate, you do it all at once instead of going in and listing merchant fulfilled stuff in Amazon and then having to come in here and find them, search for it, add the buy costs and all that stuff that we're going to go into. Then you're going to need to do it through here to save you some time. You're going to have your shipping contact information in this box right here, and then your ship from address, depending on if maybe you have a prep center and you do self prep and a prep center. Any other reason that you have two addresses, just make sure that you're clicking on the one that you're actually sending it out from so the cost can be accurate. Then just click to the next thing. Once all of that is done, batch settings here, which you're going to want to copy this over here if you're doing FBA shipments. You want 2D barcodes on for sure. You could do it without it, but it's going to take longer for your items to check in because this is going to print out a barcode on the bottom of your FBA label since you're going to get two. You're going to get a UPS label, which is used to be shipped, and then you're going to get a FBA label also. UPS label goes on the left hand side, FBA label goes on the right hand side next to it. And that FBA label is going to have an additional barcode on it. And it's also going to list your ASINs on there. So that way, when the Amazon warehouse worker checks it in, it'll be easier for them to match up the products. And I don't know exactly what goes into it, but once I started using these, my check-in times really did decrease on how long it takes. Definitely don't do minimum maximum preferences here. This is going to put in minimum maximum prices for Amazon Seller Central, and that is going to mess with your repricer. It is going to cause a lot of products to potentially be not gotten rid of, but deactivated because they're going to say that the pricing is outside of what you have in here. It's just going to cause a lot of issues. And once you add them in, you can't take them out of Amazon. So just don't ever capture these since you're going to be using a repricer to do that. If you have a buy list, you can do that. I personally don't. And then you want it to be small parcel delivery. Unless you're doing maybe wholesale and you have pallets and stuff, then you would do this. But all regular boxed shipments are going to be SPD right here. Once all of that is set up correctly, just click on Start Batch here. And it's going to pull you to a page that looks like this. You're going to have a search bar down here. And then that's where you're going to put your ASINs into. Once you put them in, it's going to show up right here. So I'm just going to grab my ASINs and then we're going to throw these into here. So we're just going to drop in our ASIN right here. And then we're just going to click enter, or you can click the little magnifying glass over here. Depends on whatever you want to do. It is going to pull up product listings here. So if you've ever sold it before, you're going to see this little tag with an FBA here saying there's one FBA listing that exists in your inventory. If you haven't ever listed it before, it is just going to pull you over to the next page here, but it's going to be for this Amazon catalog one here. So since I already have this and I do have an example of what a new one would look like after this, we're just going to click on this here. It's going to pull up right here with your SKU number on the top, condition that you sell it in, it should always be new. And then it's going to have how much you do have in stock in case you're replanning before something ran out. It's going to show FBA here, active. There may be other results in here. Just depends on how many times you've listed it. If you didn't do this and you did create new, it would pop up another one here. I personally like to use the same one all the time. Once you have that all selected and ready to go, you're going to press on replenish selected here. Now it is going to pull in your old costs, your old supplier, and not the purchase date here. So I just wiped all that out. And then we're going to see some other information on this hand side. If you have expiration dates for products and all that, then you'll just throw that into there. But really, all that we need to worry about is going to be 4 boxes in here. And that is where this order tracker comes into play here. So we've got the order tracker that I'll leave linked down in the description in case you didn't get it from a previous video I made explaining all of this. But what we need is our date that we purchased it, our supplier, and then our total cost per unit right here. And those are going to be the 3 boxes that are very important here. You'll get the ASIN from right here. I just always make sure that the item name still matches in case I put the wrong ASIN into here. And then also what's going to be pretty important is going to be this projected sale price versus the minimum. So when I purchase an item, I fill this line out and I put in what I expect to sell it for at the time there. I also check what my 25% ROI price is, which I just threw in basic numbers here. They're not accurate, but say that our 25% ROI price was $25. I would then, when I look in here and see the offers, make sure that the majority of offers are not below that minimum price. Because if they are, most likely price is tanked and we don't want to send in a product like that. So you can either hold it at that point or return it. Depends on whatever you want to do. And you'll also need your quantity, of course. So if we had 10 of these, we'd throw in a 10. We would throw in our cost in here, throw in our supplier here, and then our purchase date all from that information right there. Once you've got all of your information filled out, your total cost and supplier and quantity, it will say on the bottom here, based off of the price point that you have here. So you can click on these to make them different if you want to, or you can set it automatically. I would recommend setting it automatically to just bump above the buy box, usually around like 25%, just so that way you don't start to tank pricing. But if you did want to go accurate, you can see what all of the different ROIs would be and your net profit based off your cost there. So if you want to check the lowest or just put it in the middle, see what you would make, go ahead and do that. And then once you're done with all that, click on add to batch. When you do that, you're going to see that this box is now filled in with your product. It's going to give you your total cost, your total fees, net profit estimated based off of your sale price, and then the total value, just sales numbers there. So for the new product here, to show you what it would look like when a new one gets put in, you can just clear this out and then enter the new ASIN. It does automatically pop this up. Like I was saying, it shows the Amazon catalog button right here. And then you'll do the same thing based off of this. So we'll just say estimated cost maybe $10. And then we can go ahead, do the same thing with the pricing here, put it up a little bit just so that way you don't drag down the buy box when you're on the way in to the warehouse. Because if you did 38 or 33.88, then this guy might try to decrease his price because not a lot of people go in and look, what are the estimated shipping dates? Are they on back order? All that kind of stuff. So you want to be able to prevent that as much as you can by throwing it up a little bit higher, and then your repricer will take care of it once it actually checks in and it's ready to go there. So when you click on add to batch for this new product, it's going to show you right here, pending offer creation. So this is because it's a new product. It has just been sent over to your Amazon account. If you go to your manage all inventory page, you will see that there is a listing for it now, but it's probably shown up as a merchant fulfilled listing, which is not a problem and nothing to worry about at all. It's just the process that it goes through. It will eventually get the missing SKU number, MS SKU number, and it will change over to FBA. So you do have to wait a little bit, not super long, but once that shows up as having that and it isn't a merchant fulfilled offer anymore, you click on revalidate item. You can also, if you have multiples, just click on this. Depending on maybe if you go through and you do a new one first and then a new one last and you have a lot of products, it might take a little bit longer for the more recent one that you put in to update. And while doing that, you just want to make sure that you are doing this because what's next, once you have all of your products in there, is going to be to print out your FNSKU labels, the labels that go on outside of the clear poly bag that you put your item into. And all you do for that is just click on this here, click on print all 30 up labels. And when you do that, it's going to say how many you have so you can match that up with the units that were in the bottom part. But then it also says one item in the batch are pending, so they won't have labels printed. That's why you need to wait for them to be validated. So that way you get the labels all at the same time. If you don't wait, you can always print them later, but it's just you have to do extra work and then you have to remember which ones you didn't get, and it's just really unnecessary there. So you can either print them out, it'll give you a PDF to print out, or depending on your settings, how you set them up, it will send them to the printer that you have, whatever. And then once all of this information is in there and ready to go, we'll click on continue to box it down here. You're going to be brought to this page right here where you're going to see on the left hand side the list of all of your boxes. It's just going to pull up one by default. Then right here you're going to have a list of all of your items, titles, names, ASINs, UPCs, FNSKUs, condition, expiration date if you need it, and then your quantity unboxed right here, and then the total that you have to box left. So since this is brand new, those numbers will match here. If I wanted to go ahead and add 5 of these to box 1, I would erase this 8 so it's blank, and then I would type in a 5, click on add to P1 box 1 right there, and it will put it in here. So it'll update the quantity to say 5 right here, and then you'll get a list of all of your items underneath this recently added here with the quantity also on the side right there. If for whatever reason, just for the example here, let's just say that this was all that was going in this box, all that could fit for whatever reason. I would then go in and click on add dimensions and weight right here. You can do it all at the end if you want to, but I just find it easier to do it as you're doing it. Because if you're packing all these units, you filled up the box, you might as well just throw it on the scale and measure it if it doesn't have the size on it already. So you would throw in your box dimensions here. Let's just say it's 24, 18, 18, and then the weight is 5 pounds. Click on save dimensions and it will update right here. If for whatever reason you wanted to label your items as you box them, which doesn't really make much sense to me because then you just have to pull everything out again, you would just click on this little drop down arrow and then click on print 30 up FNSKU labels or print FNSKU labels, depending on your printer there. But since this box is done, we need another one because we still have at least 3 of these items left and then the entire list. So we would click on new box right here. And then this is going to start adding to the second box. If you wanted to add more things to box 1, just click on this again right here and it will show up just like this one. So if we just added in 2 of these to box 2, we would click on that. It would do the same exact thing. And now it shows up here what's in what box, how many we have left here, and do it that way. When you finish it up, it will make this blank. So if this is blank and you still have units left, you mess something up. Once this is green and all of the rest of them are green, you'll be able to tell by this little bar over here is just a little sliver right here because I've got all of these other units to put into this shipment here. Once this is full, this next button will be able to be clicked, and then we will move on to the next page after that. All right, so now that everything is inside of all of my boxes and this next button is ready to go, the green bar is all filled out, we can move on to the next page here. But what I do want to show you guys is a couple of things that you can do while you're on this page to edit things if you mess stuff up or you need to change something. So if you add an extra box and you don't actually end up needing it, just click this little 3 dots right here, click on delete box. If you added too many into a box, like here, we got 8 in the first box, you could just click the whole X if you want to. But depending on how far you are in and what's in what box, you may want to just hover over the product. And then when you do that, you'll see either the X right here where you can easily get rid of them if you're not looking at the product. And if you want to move them or change the quantity, click on this little pencil right here. You can adjust the available quantity that you have. So there's only 15 of these available, so I could go anywhere down from 15. You could also go up if you need to. If you want to just swap them from box to box, you can click on move quantity and then say how many of the total number that you have in this box do you want to move and which one do you want it to go into here. So that makes it pretty easy if you're doing like final adjustments and all that. Maybe a box is too heavy, over 50 pounds or something, you need to move some stuff around. Just go ahead and do that there. That is everything right there. And then we will click on next right here. And you'll have to put in your shipment date here. Does not really matter what you put in here. It's really just up to you. It's for UPS internal tracking and stuff like that, it doesn't actually, like, if you were to put 3 days out from today, whenever you do it, and you dropped it off the next day, it would not cause you any issues. It's just so UPS can estimate the delivery date and all that. You could even put today and drop it off in a week from now. Still does not matter at all what you do there. So now that we're on this page here, we're going to see this progress bar that does take a little bit to go through. You can see what it is registering here. It's sending all the information over to Amazon and it's asking Amazon, where do you want these to go? In It will start to show you here your placement options, which are only going to have 3 options here. And these prices aren't necessarily final until this progress bar is done. So what it's going to do is it's just going to pick one fulfillment center for each of these options. Like you can see here, we've got the 3 different warehouses here. All 10 boxes are going there. If you do your shipments a different way, it may pop up with different options. Really up to you and how you do things. But for how I do it this way, random units in every single box, depending on what fits, this is what you're going to get. You can do an optimized shipment where you do at minimum 5 identical boxes. So same size, same products in every single box, and same number of quantity of products in each box. If you do that, you will get different placement options here. But I typically don't do that because doing OA, you're not always going to have the same number of every single product. It's going to be differentiating throughout that. So it makes it a little bit harder to do that unless you split up your shipments. Not really a huge deal. So with buying your shipments, you're going to have 2 different charges basically built into one. You're going to have the transportation fee, which is just the label fee. And then you're going to have what's called inbound placement, which is essentially Amazon is charging you to distribute your items from warehouse to warehouse. Because in the old days, when I first started, it would tell you which warehouses and it would break up these boxes. And it would also tell you what units had to go where before you packed the boxes. Now, what it does is it just sends everything to one warehouse. And because of that, they do end up transferring some units around depending on where they need them. And you are charged for that, even if you weren't doing a shipment and they moved your items around. So it's not as good as it used to be, but we can't do anything about it unless you do those kind of optimized shipments there. And we are pretty much all done with this percentage bar here. Once we go ahead and get this finalized and this percentage bar fills out, we will choose our placement option and then we will purchase it and get our labels there. So now that it's done, what I do is I just click inside of each one of these here and I see the total cost down here because you're going to have your total fees here and then your shipment cost built into this. So I try to get whatever is the cheapest option, which is going to be this one by far. So we've got 270 here, 368 and then 529. It is because of the location also from where my shipment is going to all the way out to Arizona. That's across the country. I do my prep on the East Coast. So this is, and it's the Northeast. So Pennsylvania is definitely the closest option there. You always want to go with the partnered carrier. You don't want to ever change this. You can change the shipment date, but like I explained before, it doesn't matter. And then you do only have a certain amount of time to do this. You can generate new options if you want to. Doesn't seem to really do much for me, so I don't ever do that. We'll click on purchase labels here, and then we will accept all the fees and shipment charges, and then click on purchase labels. Once we do that, it is going to do another processing. So the lengthiest part of this is going to be adding stuff to boxes and then waiting for this all to process. But once this does process here, we are going to have our Amazon account charged usually the next day for that total cost. And then right now, we're going to get our shipping labels, be able to print them out, and then attach them to the boxes there. You're going to get 2 different types of labels, like I may have already mentioned, but it's going to be a UPS label and then an FBA warehouse label. And UPS label, just to remind you again, goes on the left-hand side. FBA goes on the right-hand side because the way that they have their warehouses set up, that's how it gets scanned in and all that. Don't know if it's automatic or not, but they do also need to be on the same side of the box. So whatever side you put the UPS label on, you need to put the other one on also. So right now, We'll do print box and shipping labels. If you have multiple shipments, you'd have to click this, but you don't need to. You'll just click on print all box and shipping labels and you'll get those. Once you print out the labels, just click on close batch and then that's all that you have to do. If you ever need to go back and look at your batches, you want to see what you sent out, maybe you forgot or you're missing something, go into list and prep again here, just like we are. Click on history. You'll be able to see all of your different shipments in there. And that is all that you need to do in order to send in to Amazon. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below in the comments. There's also a link in the description to get one-on-one help from me before Q4 starts so you can take full advantage of it and start selling on Amazon today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next video.